Orbit Culture has been on quite a roll. From Nesia to Descent to The Forgotten, and now their brand new album, Death Above Life. The question is, will they continue this upward trajectory, or will they crash and burn? Find out next. Welcome, metal enthusiasts, to a brand new episode of the Metal Dude Abides. Tonight, we are going to take a look at the brand new album from Orbit Culture, Death Above Life. Now, for those of you who have been fans of the channel for a while, you probably know by now, I am a huge Orbit Culture fan. I started this channel back in 2023, and my first Albums of the Year episode, Orbit Culture made the top 5 with their album Descent. They also that year put out an excellent EP, The Forgotten, and was the number 1 EP of the year. They had several songs that were in the mix for the top 10 songs of the year. It was a big year for Orbit Culture. So when I heard they were making a brand new album, I was obviously very excited. And they released a few singles we'll talk about here in a minute that made me know for sure that at least I was going to like the new album. The real question is, will I love it? Let's find out. We're going to go track by track and tell you all about this new album. The album gets off to a hot start with the very first track, Inferna. This is a great way to start the album. It has a lot of intensity, but it's also a little bit of a risky selection in that this song is a little bit long. It is almost 7 minutes in length. Now, usually my preference for an album opener is to be intense, come in with a 4 or 5 minute punch to the face, get everything off to a great start. But Orbit Culture are geniuses at taking a 4 or 5 minute intense song and turn them into an even better 6 or 7 minute song, and they do so here. Now, Orbit Culture stretches that music in a couple of ways. One, musically. They start off really intense, but they'll put a couple of lulls in the song so that when they pick that intensity back up, it really gives you this sense of momentum throughout the entire song. The other way they do that is with lead singer Nicholas Carlson's voice. He has a dynamic range of vocal styles. He has a clean vocal that can bring you in. It's a very soft, clean vocal that can be somewhat desperate and pleading, and it really, like I said, it pulls you in close. He has another clean vocal style that's much more intense, a little bit more snarling. Many people would say maybe a little James Hetfield-esque. And then finally, when he really needs to grab you, he can go into the death growls with the very best of them. Here, he uses those 3 styles beautifully, again, to take this song and constantly build a sense of momentum to a big crescendo. Risky to go 7 minutes on the opener, but well worth it. This album is off to an amazing start. Inferna is a great song. Whenever I do album reviews, I will tell you about my favorite songs in an album and my least favorite songs in an album. Even in a perfect album, there always has to be a least favorite song. And here, I think, is my least favorite song, Bloodhound. Listen, I get it. Really good metal is sometimes a dish served with a whole lot of anger and rage. And this song really gives a lot of that emotional impact. I don't know who the Bloodhound is, but he did something to really make Nicholas mad. The lyrics in this are scathing. However, I do find this song, while it's a good song, don't get me wrong, a little bit repetitious and maybe would have been better off later on in the album as kind of a pick-me-up down the road. But right here is the second song of the album. I would say this is probably a little bit high on the album for this song. And again, it comes in as my least favorite song. But don't worry, Orbit Culture fans. Things are about to pick up in an amazing way. As I alluded to, the album really kicks into a higher gear right here with the third track, Inside the Waves. Ooh, baby. This is one of my favorite tracks on the entire album. And honestly, if I were to put together a template, if you will, for what Orbit Culture sounds like when they're at their best, I would point to this template right here. And the reason is simple. It is uber heavy, but the chorus is so catchy. The vocals in the chorus have so much emotion. And Christopher Wallerstedt's drumming, while it's outstanding across the entire album, he really puts on a performance right here. Great vocals, great drums, an amazingly catchy chorus. Sign me up. This is the type of song that when I think about Orbit Culture, I think about songs just like this. Check it out. Inside the Waves. It is an absolute banger. Now, as much as I like Inside the Waves, things are actually going to even get better. Way back a few months ago, before the album was released, Orbit Culture started releasing singles for this album. And the first one they put out is The Tales of War. Ooh, this is the reason I started salivating in anticipation. This is when I knew I was at least going to like the album, because this first single is one of the best Orbit Culture songs of all time. It's that good. So what makes it stand out? Well, first of all, we're into track 4 here, and this is the first time they really start bringing in that atmosphere to the music. Orbit Culture, again, wonderful music, but they also bring a little bit of atmosphere into the music that I really find great. After about 2 minutes of this kind of atmospheric intro, they break into one of the best crunchy, stompy riffs you're ever going to hear. Love it to death. It is fantastic. And finally, this is really one of the first songs that Richard Hanson really stands out. Now, it's a very short solo, but it's very well placed inside the song. This song got me hooked, got me ready for this album, and it's going to compete for the end of year list for top songs of the year. It is that good. One of the best Orbit Culture songs you're ever going to hear. Check it out. The Tales of War. Could this album get even better? It can, and it shall. Ladies and gentlemen, as much as I like the last 2 tracks, here's my absolute favorite, Hydra. Ooh, once again, just a heavy, suffocating riff. Now, one of the things that we probably need to talk about just a tad is this is the first time Orbit Culture has turned the production over to someone else. In the past, Nicholas and the boys did all the producing of their own albums. And let me just say, on this song in particular, that pays off. Because this song has a very cool, like almost this vibrating distortion to it that makes it feel like the earth beneath you is going to crack. And when they put down that breakdown at the end of the song, it's like a bomb going off. It is really well done. One of the best produced songs I've heard in a long time. Now, having said that, let me just say, I don't think they needed a different producer. Nicholas was doing great. I thought the last 2 Orbit Culture albums or EPs have all been very well produced. So it's an interesting choice that the band is making to put that in the hands of someone else. And poor Nicholas, he does a lot with the band. He does the lyrics. He does a lot of the different things, a lot of the instrumentation, a lot of the, a lot of it. So maybe he just needs a break and he brought in someone. So if there's a controversy here, whether you like the old production of Orbit Culture or the new production, I think both are excellent. And again, I think the production on this song in particular is great. Also, once again, Mr. Hansen's guitar solo is really cool here because it sounds like almost like, and I guess because the name Hydra, I don't know, I start thinking about a snake. It's almost like, when you see the videos of the people playing the flute and getting the cobra to come out of the basket. He has kind of a cool guitar solo that reminds me of that quite a bit. So, love track 3. Track 4, love it, a little better. And finally here, track 5, the ultimate song on the album. If you're only going to hear one song. Now, I will say this. Hydra is a little bit of a slower song than the previous tracks. It kind of gets into that heavier, crunchier feel. So if you are not a fan of a heavy, crunchy song, maybe you go to the first 2 that I was talking about, a little more fast-paced. But you will not find a better song on the album right here. Hydra. Ooh, it's a good one. Another single the band released is a song called Nerve. And while sure, it's not going to compete with Hydra or the Tales of War, but it's also a very good song and a much needed change of pace right here. Remember I was telling you Hydra was really slow and crunchy? This picks up the pace quite a bit, but doesn't lose any of the intensity. One of the lyrics in the song is, "I can't keep all of this inside." But it's exactly the opposite of what the song does. It feels like a emotional release of all of this angst and anger and sadness just erupting out of Nicholas's vocals. Interestingly, the whole song is about kind of losing your mind, losing your mind, and then at the very broken mind, right? And then at the very end of the song, he reveals why he has the broken mind. It's because he suffers from a broken heart. Really good lyrics. If you're a fan of reading and listening to the lyrics, check this one out. I think the lyrics in here are fantastic. And again, a very cathartic and well placed change of pace into the album after the big heavy Hydra. So again, not only is this a great song, not only was it a very good single, but it really is well placed in the album. This album, from top to bottom so far, has been terrific. Ah, yes, the title track, Death Above Life. Uh, Once again, the way you construct an album is very important. And here, Orbit Culture goes back to a much slower pace, but again, still very heavy. This song has kind of a very menacing intro. Again, really leans into the atmosphere quite a bit on this one. I believe the song also kind of ties into the Tales of War song that we heard earlier, except this is more looking at the lingering effects after war. The trying to deal with all the horrors and pain that you had to deal with when you're in a really stressful situation like that. Very good song, and again, you go from heavy Hydra, you pick it up a little bit with Nerve, and then you come back here again slow, and again, very intense, a very smoldering pace on this one. Probably unique to anything else on the album. Really, again, a great song, and its placement in the album is perfection. The next 2 songs really pick the pace back up once again. The Storm and Neural Collapse are really great songs. machine gun drums, blazing guitars. There's a place in Neurocollapse where there's like those kind of, I don't know, gang type of vocals where everybody's kind of singing along in kind of an eerie way. Really like these two songs. And then the album comes to like an abrupt halt with the final track, The Path I Walk. This is kind of an interesting trend that I've noticed in heavy metal this year. I've reviewed several albums where they close on a big epic ballad. The Path I Walk is the only ballad on the album, and I find it interesting that the band chose to close on this one. Now, this is nitpicky on a really fantastic album. I'm not a big fan of ending on a ballad. I always like to kind of leave on a more heavier, epic type of high note, if you will. So if it were me, I probably would switch the order of these last three songs. I would probably put The Path I Walk right after the title track, while that smoldering pace could break beautifully into a ballad, and then save those last two fast albums to bring us up. And quite frankly, I think Neurocollapse would be a fantastic closing song as well. A really good, epic song that really, I think, would accent the entire album from front to back. But this is all just nitpicky stuff. All three of these songs are fine, maybe a little out of order, but once again, you're going to see the full range of Nicholas's his vocals on this album are so good. One of my favorite vocalists, if you can't tell, of the modern age. And like I said, drums, guitar, some really nice bass through here. Really like the way they close the album. Like I said, just change the order just a tad. Now, let's just get my final thoughts on the album. Let's see. Great opener, check. Inferna gets the album off on the right track. Secondly, it has a stretch between Inside the Waves and the title track. That stretch of 4 or 5 songs there? Absolutely perfect stretch on the album. Like I said, if you don't have time to listen to the whole album, start with Inside the Waves and go through the title track. That is a tremendous stretch of music. They take you through several different paces, and every one of those songs is an all-timer. Now, the question you're probably asking is, where does this line up with, let's say, their last album, The Descent, right? Or Descent, excuse me. Whew, it's close, because I loved Descent. As I said, put it in my top 5 of 2023. But folks, I think Death Above Life is just a tad bit better than Descent. And that is kind of a shocking upset. You know, sometimes you get an album that you love so much, and you're like, there's no way they're going to come back and top this one. And yet, I think they pulled it off. Again, new producer, brand new label, I believe, for the band. So, I don't think there's been I've heard some people, kind of weighing in. I think both their sound when they were producing the albums and now that they are having someone else produce them, there's a definite difference. And I will say the first time I heard their new, production sound, I was like, I'm not sure they should have done this. But after listening to the entire album, I think it's great. I think it's a great choice. And again, probably gives Nicholas a little bit of a break from trying to do everything and focus more on the music. So I think the new sounds great, and I think this is going to end up being one of a strong contender to get into the top 10 albums of 2025. And let me just say, the Tales of War and Hydra are going to be competing for best songs of the year as well. This is one of the best albums, top to bottom. If you like melodic death metal, which is my jam, and if you've liked past Orbit Culture albums, you're going to love Death Above Life.